I've always been happy to see either a new Doctor Who series or a regeneration. Back when I was a wee lad in the 70s, I remember being confused and asking my mum why John Pertwee had turned into Tom Baker, and thus started my lifelong love and occasionally contempt for a show that has followed me throughout my entire life. When I became a teenager, I luckily found equally geeky friends to wax lyrically about Doctor Who too, and was happy Tom finally gave it a rest, as it seemed he'd been around for ages. I have to be honest, by the time it got to Sylvester McCoy, I pretty much didn't bother watching after the infamous cliffhanger episode, as I found the show to have become embarrassing. Plus, I'd left school, got a job, was enjoying going out, drinking and admiring ladies from afar. Roll forward to the wilderness years, where I moved in with a bunch of fellow hippie slackers like myself and would while away the many evenings watching VHS copies of the show and discussing it in depth late into the small hours with many beers. Roll forward even many more years later, and it came back bigger and louder. I was even more or less responsible, footloose and fancy-free. I adored the new stuff just as much as the old stuff. I eventually got married, had kids, and became a bitter old git Doctor Who fan, complaining about preachy speeches, long arms, bland companions, 1990s computer game graphics being used in the year 2024, etc., etc. Which brings me nicely to the Space Baby, Ncuti Gatwa's proper full frontal foray into the role of the Doctor. My overall impression of Space Babies was great. It was a fun romp to get the new viewers invested and for families to sit together and watch the episode. I certainly had a lot of fun with my kids watching it, and it was lovely to have a script that flowed so effortlessly apart from one part, which I shall discuss later. I thought the story opened strongly, which on paper it shouldn't. You wouldn't normally have 5 minutes of recap for new viewers plus a scene that doesn't really go anywhere, but it did work. I enjoyed the splashing out of cash from the larger budget to do the butterfly effect sketch, which is something Auntie B would never allow. Plus the recap gave both the actors a chance to shine, with little else but the dialogue and camera angles. It set up the following story really nicely for us to get rearing to go on an adventure with our dynamic duo. The main story itself was charming. It was aliens with babies instead of adults. It had a great monster and tense moments. The plot, dialogue and world buildings always drove the story forward. The babies were cute and it tugged at my heartstrings when they said they'd never been hugged. Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson not only had fantastic chemistry, but they also looked like they were having so much fun doing it. But most importantly, Ncuti is a fantastic Doctor. He's caring, intelligent, fascinating, eccentric, otherworldly, and do I have to point out how utterly charismatic he is. To stop the episode from getting a bit too Christmas episode rompish, I was pleased to see future events were being set up. When the Doctor tells Ruby she can't go back to a point where she was left as a baby, this wasn't just a simple plot device, it harks back to the 10th Doctor and the episode Father's Day, where Rose is warned about doing something similar. I would also enjoy the ending, where something has been set up for throughout the series. This is a device I actually really enjoy. My particular favourite of the series of New Who is Series 3, with the very underrated Martha Jones. The ending leaves us to believe there is more to Ruby than meets the eye. I'm also still slightly holding out that the butterfly effect opening could also be an Easter egg for future stories. Yes, on the whole, I'm a big fan of this episode. However, there's a couple of downsides. First, I'm not overly sure if this is an episode that has the rewatch value that I enjoy about Doctor Who. I mean, certainly not in the way of Blink, City of Death, and Orphan 55. The other issue I have is the message about refugees. It wasn't the message itself. It was just the fact that it kind of jolted me out of enjoying the show. It felt really shoehorned and preachy, and it didn't sit with the rest of the episode. I mean, I can almost guarantee that if it wasn't a political message, that this line would have been jettisoned straight away. Because quite frankly, I found it quite a clumsy piece of exposition, and in an otherwise really tightly written script. All in all, a great start to the new series, and I should be following this video up shortly with my thoughts on The Devil's Cord. Please let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments below, and don't forget to like and stick your finger on that big fat juicy subscribe button.